Look, we kind of kicked off everything yesterday in terms of training camp. And look, obviously today's the first day of practice. Today's when we truly start our preparation for the season to get out here as a team and get going. It's good to be on the grass. It's good to see you guys in person again. It's nice to have a sense of normalcy. Obviously, everything's not 100% normal. Still a lot of things we have to do protocol-wise and handle a lot of situations off the field. But in terms of the football itself, look, we're getting, looking forward to going full speed today as much as we can in helmets and T-shirts. So, again, that being said, we'll open up the questions.
What is your plan with getting into pads and building guys up when you get there?
Yeah, so there's a ramp-up period. So we really won't be in pads till next Tuesday, Jordan. So it'll be helmets and shorts for the next couple of days. We'll build into shells Friday, Saturday, shells following Monday. Then we'll be in the pads. We'll be in pads as much as we can be, even when it's not a live contact day. Just to get used to wearing the equipment, moving around, getting our players used to being out there.
Coach, how much are the protocols, altering what you guys can do on a daily basis?
Yeah, for the most part, it doesn't alter much. It really doesn't. Obviously, if a guy triggers and he's in some kind of protocol, he can't be with us in meetings, they go in through Zoom. That's still a little bit funky. I mean, look, Blake Martinez is outside the building right now. You sit in the linebacker meeting room and Kevin Shears, talking. It's kind of like the voice of Oz coming back over a speaker and Blake's answering questions. So it's a little bit different in that regard. But I think our team's, pretty good at changing and adjusting on the fly. It's something we dealt with last year to a degree. We've been in Zoom completely. Now we're kind of almost integrating some Zoom, some in person. Hopefully we can get everyone in person full time as much as we can. But in terms of on the field, look, there's protocols players have to follow. If you're not vaccinated or fully through the process yet of being vaccinated, you've got to wear that Oakley mouth shield over your helmet. When they take their helmets off, they got to put masks on. These are just part of the protocols. We have a number of guys who are waiting to be fully cleared. I know it'll be easier for them when they get through that process completely. But for right now, we all understand that, look, it is what it is. Okay, we've got rules. And we talk as a team, you have choices. All right, the league and the union have afforded you the choice of being vaccinated or unvaccinated. The reality is it's a lot easier to go ahead and live life as a professional player if you're vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you just have to follow all the protocols associated with it. And it's our job as a team to enforce those and educate our players along the way.
Do you expect to be 100% vaccinated at some point?
I can't answer that question. I mean, look, we have a lot of guys on our team that make individual choices. Our job is to educate them. And again, whatever choice they make, we're just making sure that they're doing what's right for the team by following the protocols.
Joe, what's Kadarius going to do today?
Actually, he's going to kind of ramp it up a little bit with our trainers. We'll see where he is physically before we kind of bring him back completely. Again, we have a number of guys in that situation come off that COVID list, and that's something we dealt with last year. Really, we learned a lot last year from the guys coming off. Even when a guy comes off and he's asymptomatic, and they feel like when they get back to the field, hey, they're ramped up, they're ready to go, there's a lot of energy and excitement. They get out there, and the truth is, when you've been in a position where you're basically isolated and not working out for, whether it's a week, 10 days, whatever it may be, that just go ahead and set you back in your training. We got to make sure our players are healthy when they get out there. That's why we do a conditioning test. It's not to see, how far we can push our team. It's see, are these guys physically ready to go out there and perform and what we need them to do on the field.
Where were they when you saw them do the conditioning test?
I'm pleased with the team's process or the progress of the summer. Everyone passed it. We got a lot of guys you can tell have worked extremely hard over the summer. All that's just to show that they have an opportunity to get on the field, Jordan, and work. So from this point forward, obviously we're going to start playing football, and we'll see today as we build into conditioning.
Joe, for you personally, what's different about you this year, starting your second training camp, in your second year as a head coach? Did you make any changes in your preparation for this year's camp? Will we see different things? What's different about you?
I'd say the foundation of our team is always going to be the same. So there's going to be principles we look to operate within on a daily basis. In terms of me specifically, I'm not going to go through a list of things I've adjusted, but I'm always looking to go ahead and get better. And I rely on, my own self-critique, but I also have guys on the staff and guys externally I trust and rely on their input along the way. And look, I'm going to always be me. I'm going to do it in my personality. I think you have to do that, otherwise you're just lying, trying to be something else. In terms of, adjustments, practice is never going to be just one simple template where we go ahead and follow on through. We don't just hit print and print out last year's practice schedules. We always do what's best for the team based on the players we have available at each time. It'll change game plan wise throughout the season. But as we go through training camp, you'll see a lot of the similar things. As we build through training camp, we get our players in better condition. We'll start doing more two-spot drills to make sure that everyone's getting reps, no one's standing around and watching. We're going to work a lot of, obviously, fundamentals, tackling, running in space, all right, turnover, ball security. We're going to always work special teams mixed in through practice. There's obviously going to be a lot of transition, and the design of practice, how we do it, is football is a game of transition. We talk, if you're a running back and we don't convert on third down, guess what? You got to get ready to play on the punt team, so you got to flip your thinking right there. But we've got to learn as a team how to transition from offense or defense to the kicking game, and then drop the kicking game and go right back to offense and defense and move it. So there's a lot in our players every day in terms of knowing where to go, but That's part of the design. We don't try to make this an easy place. We want to make sure we put as much pressure on the players through practice as possible, and that when they get in the games, they've dealt with a level of adversity and pressure that'll help them operate better.
Joe, does it feel any different representing the Giants out here in front of the cameras in person versus doing it over Zoom like your entire first season?
It's more natural. I mean, look, we've said all along, whether it's the fans, whether it's dealing with the media, whatever it is, look, I like personal relationships. I'd rather sit out here and look you guys in the eye and talk to you just directly, one-on-one, than sit there and look. The reality is when we do those Zooms, there's sometimes someone's talking and there's so many screens on there, I can't even look at the face of whoever asked the question. So I like to look back at who asked the question and really just give them a direct answer.
Joe, you were an assistant for many years, and last year you kind of stressed you want your assistants to be hands-on. Were you happy with the way that worked last year, and will we see anything different out here in training camp? So, do you want your guys even to take another level with some of your assistants and be even more hands-on with some of these guys?
Yeah, look, I expect everyone on the staff to coach. And everyone has to be an expert in their field, and I look at everyone as the head coach of their position. We have a number of coaches out here. No one's out here to carry a clipboard and just record things. Everyone's out here to coach and help our players. The goal of what we're doing is teaching our team. So I expect everyone on our coaching staff to coach every player at all times. I want there to be crossover. To me, it's important that, if Jerome sees something on a receiver, he helps the receiver out and give him a tip. Hey, every time you do this pre-snap, we know you're doing this. And then same thing vice versa. If Tyke sees something a corner's doing in press man, he can let him know, hey, when we see you do this, how we're looking to expose it. So, we want to make sure we get stronger as a group and as a team by working together.
And with the offensive line, there's a lot of guys in that mix, the coaches. So, is there any concern that somebody does something in a drill and three guys yell at them at the same time?
No, those guys work well together. It's important for me, the coaching staff, that we spend a lot of time meeting, that just we end up on the same page. When we walk out of the meetings, we all understand what's going on.
Joe, I'm sure along the lines of the offensive line, knowing that you're not even going to be in pads until next week, and then you always hear traditionally about the O-line guys, talk to me in week 3 to see where they're truly at. How do you assess and evaluate that group? Because I know, with all the talk about every other position, I know how much emphasis you guys are putting on that development of those guys. How do you evaluate?
Well, look, it's our job as coaches to evaluate our players however we can. In the spring, you're obviously not in pads. Well, we got to evaluate where they're at in spring as well. You have a ramp-up period through the NFL rules, so they're not going to be in full pads going right away. Obviously, as training camp goes on at all positions, the pads are on, the competition picks up. We get to have preseason games this year, practice against Cleveland and New England. That'll tell a lot about our teams as we go forward. All right, but players have to demonstrate consistent improvement across the board. Dependability is a big thing we're looking for here. That's day by day how it goes on. I'd say in terms of the offensive line, look, we have to work in whatever we're afforded. So it's not full pads today. It's not full pads for the defensive line either. They have to understand that when we go team drills or cooperative drills, we're still working the elements and the fundamentals of what we're doing. We're still getting off. We're playing with good tempo, good pad level football position. We're still working extension and lockout. We're still working all the calls and communication. All right, and the movement with the offensive line. We're just not having a collision finish. Okay, is there going to be some contact out there? There will be, but it's not collisions, and that's what we're emphasizing.
Joe, along the lines of the offensive line, someone like Will Hernandez, what progress have you seen from the end of last year through this spring to this point?
Yeah, I'm pleased with how he's worked. I think obviously, physically the shape he's returned into play, he showed a level of conditioning through spring we're very pleased with. One thing about Will is he's worked very tirelessly on everything we've asked him to do. He's had great communication with, Fitz and the strength staff, Steve Smith, our nutritionist, Ronnie Barnes and his staff, all of our offensive line coaches. Will's just done a really good job of doing everything we ask him to do to the best of his ability, and that's all you can ask of a player.
Coach, having those joint practices as well as preseason games now back, how much more helpful is that for you to evaluate talent and find the best 53?
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And you kind of go back from our notes last year, kind of getting ready for this, or last year's training camp as opposed to this year's training camp, and we had to invent as many scenarios as possible to evaluate our players in competition. And I thought we did as good a job as we could have done last year with that. There's some things obviously we'd look back and say, what could we do better going forward? But in terms of having competitive practices, that's always great for the team. First off, it's great. It breaks up the monotony of camp. And instead of bashing each other's heads in, you get to go against another team and work with them. You get to see different schemes, different players, evaluate your players against someone as a change-up, all right, maybe a different skill set or talent level than whoever they may be working against every day in practice. It gives you more of a team unifying feel out there, and it just ramps up more opportunities to go out there and see them compete and have a true evaluation of them. And then obviously the preseason games, there's nothing better for evaluation than a preseason game and seeing a guy actually in live action. That could be if they play 10 plays in the game, an entire half of the entire game. That's got to be something we can evaluate because you can't replicate the flow of the game. And then also there's nothing better for players to get ready to play the season safely. Okay, they have to build in that in-game conditioning, stamina, and that feel for the rest in between plays, the break in between series, little things like commercial breaks. There's things that add up throughout a game that you just can't replicate in practice.
One more. Going back to Will, you had to make a choice between Shane and Will, one of those guys to move to the right side. What was there a specific reason why when we saw Will there in the spring?
No, we're going to play all of our players on both sides. You're going to see all the tackles play right and left. You're going to see the guards play right and left. You're going to see Nick Gates at times. We may flex him to guard or tackle. We're always building our flexibility offensively to make sure that if something happens, we can interchange parts and keep on moving. Who knows? We may pick up somebody in the season who can only play left guard, or their strength is only left guard. We want to make sure that Shane and Will can both play on the right or play on the left as we need them to.
So what kind of spring do you think Devontae Booker had, and how capable is he of carrying a load, until Saquon comes back?
Well, I think Devontae has to worry about himself and not worry about where anybody else is. We're going to look to get contributions from all of our players, no matter who's available on the roster. Again, whoever comes to the game for us is going to play. All right, we're not traveling, guys just sit there and watch the game. So I'm pleased with the progress made through spring. Obviously, for any new player, rookies, free agents, doesn't matter. There's elements of the program they have to get used to, whether it's a little bit of something different we do in operation, how we practice, the system and scheme, communication. That all adds up right there. But I'm confident in all of our players. He's worked hard to this point, and we have to see him every day make progress at our training camp.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.